Hey, this is Nuba, belonging to School of Law and Legal Affairs, Noida International University. I am here to narrate some topics on the behalf of our department, SLLA. Let's begin. The presentation topic is Jurisdiction of Supreme Court with Review and Curative Petition and Relevant Case Laws. So, the first slide shows the introduction. We all are aware that in the pyramid of courts of justice in India, the Supreme Court is the apex court of the country and is also considered the highest court of appeal in criminal and civil matters. It is constituted to maintain the supremacy of the constitution and also to decide the disputes between the center and states or states inter se. The Supreme Court is also known as the guardian of fundamental rights of the people. It is the great tribunal which has to draw the line between individual liberty and social control. Let's move on to the second part, that is history. The promulgation of Regulating Act of 1773 by the King of England paved the way for establishment of the Supreme Court of Jurisdiction at Calcutta. The letters of patent was issued on 26 March 1774 to establish the Supreme Court of Jurisdiction at Calcutta as a court of record with full power and authority to hear and determine all complaints for any crimes and also to entertain, hear and determine any suits or action against of any His Majesty subject in Bombay, Bihar and Orissa. The Supreme Courts at Madras and Bombay was established by King George III on 26 December 1800. The India High Courts Act 1861 was enacted to create high courts for various provinces and abolished Supreme Court at Calcutta, Madras and Bombay and also the Sadar Adalats in presidency towns. These high courts has distinction of being the highest court for all cases till the creating of Federal Court of India under the Government of Indian Act 1935. The Federal Court had jurisdiction to solve disputes between provinces and federal states and hear appeal against judgment from high courts. After India attained independence in 1947, the Constitution of India came into being on 26 January 1950. The Supreme Court of India also came into existence and its first sitting was held on 28 January 1950. The law declared by the Supreme Court is binding on all courts within the territory of India. It has power of judicial review. In formative years, the apex court met from 10 to 12 in the morning and then 2 to 4 in the afternoon for 28 days in a year. But today it has several tasks and meetings for 190 days in a year. The main block of Supreme Court building was built on triangular plot of 17 acres and the building was designed by Chief Architect Ganesh Bhikaji, who was the first Indian to head CPW and design Supreme Court building in an Indo-British architectural style. The foundation stone of the Supreme Court building was laid by the first President of India, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, on 29 October 1954. First Chief Justice of India. Let's move on to the next topic, Supreme Court. As per the Constitution of India, the Supreme Court is the final court of appeal. Its first sitting was on 28th day January 1950. Part 5th of Chapter 4 of the Constitution of India provides for the establishment and working of the Supreme Court. It provides for separate high courts for separate states, but according to 7th Constitutional Amendment Act, the same high court can be the court for more than one state. At present, we have 21 high courts in the country, which includes 3 common high courts. It is to be an appellate court and as a safekeeper of the Constitution. The jurisdiction of the same is provided for Article 124 to Article 147 of the Constitution. There should be a Supreme Court in India that will be presided by the Chief Justice of India with additional 7 judges until the Parliament passes precedent for increasing the number of judges. However, currently there are 27 judges including Chief Justice of India and maximum possible strength is 34 as per Constitution of India. Judges of Supreme Court retire at age of 65. Justice N.V. Ramana is the 48th Chief Justice of India on 24th April 2021. Supreme Court is also known as the guardian of our Constitution. Jurisdiction can be defined the authority given to a legal body like a Supreme Court to administer justice within a defined field of responsibility. The term jurisdiction is derived from the Latin word jurisdiction, which means jurisdiction comes from the root words ius meaning law and decree meaning to speak. Thus, jurisdiction can be defined as the limit of a judicial authority or the extent to which a court of law can exercise its authority over suits, cases, appeals, etc. The rationale behind introducing the concept of jurisdiction in law is that a court should be able to try and adjudicate only in those matters with which it has some connection on which fall within the geographical or political limits of its authority. In 1921, Calcutta High Court judgment in the case of Hriday Nath Roy versus Ramchandra explained the meaning of the term jurisdiction in a great detail. Jurisdiction of Supreme Court. The Constitution, powers and jurisdiction of Supreme Court have been defined from Article 124 to 147. There are various jurisdictions of Supreme Court of India. The jurisdiction and powers of the Supreme Court can be classified into the followings. First is original jurisdiction, Article 131. Appellate jurisdiction, Article 132 Clause 1. 133 Clause 1, 134, along with appeal by special leave. Third, advisory jurisdiction, Article 143. Writ jurisdiction, Article 32. Revisory jurisdiction, Article 137. A court of record, Article 129. Power of judicial review, Article 13. And the last is miscellaneous or others power. The jurisdiction in India has been assigned a significant role play. It has to dispense justice not only between one person or another, but also between the state and the citizens. It interprets the Constitution and acts as its guardian by keeping all authorities, legislative, executive, administrative, judicial, and quasi-judicial, within bonds. The judiciary is entitled to scrutinize any governmental action in order to assess whether or not it conforms with the Constitution and the valid laws made thereunder. The judiciary has the power to protect people's fundamental rights from any undue encroachment by any organ of the government. The Supreme Court in particular acts as a guardian and protector of the fundamental rights of the people. In order to compensate for a wide range of responsibility, the Supreme Court is provided with multiple jurisdiction. Thus, it is a multiple jurisdictional court and may be regarded as the most powerful apex court in the world. First is original jurisdiction, which is mentioned in Article 131. The Supreme Court has original jurisdiction in the case if the dispute is between the two or more states, between the Government of India and a state, and government and some state at one side and some states on the other. The Supreme Court, in its original jurisdiction, cannot entertain any suits brought by private individual against the Government of India and in the political matters. Under Article 32, one can move to the Supreme Court by appropriate proceedings for the enforcement of fundamental rights. In a state, the West Bengal versus Union of India case under the Coal-Bearing Areas Act, the Union had the power to acquire the coal-bearing land, which includes land belonging to the states in India. The Supreme Court held that the act was valid and the suit could be entertained under this article. The second is appellate jurisdiction. As per Article 132, 133, 134 of the Constitution, the Supreme Court has appellate jurisdiction in matters that are related to civil, criminal, or constitution. The appeal lies with the Supreme Court against the High Court in the following four categories. A. Constitutional matters. If High Court certifies that the case involves a substantial question of law that needs interpretation of the Constitution. B. Civil matters. If the case involves a substantial question of law of general importance. C. The criminal matters. If High Court has an appeal, reserved the order of acquittal of an accused and sentenced him to death, or has withdrawn for trial before itself any case from subordinate courts. D. Appeal by special leave. It is a residuary power given by the Constitution to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has also very wide appellate jurisdiction over all the courts. Tribunals in India, in as much as it may, in its decision, judgment, grant special leave to appeal under Article 136 of the Constitution from any judgment, decree, determination, sentence, or order in any cause or matter passed or made by any court or tribunal in the territory of India. However, under this jurisdiction, the Supreme Court can transfer to itself cases from one or more high courts if it involves the question of law in the interest of justice. The third is advisory jurisdiction, which is mentioned under Article 143. Article 143 provides that if at any time It appears to the President that a question of law or fact has arisen or likely to arise, and the question is of public importance, that it is advisable to obtain the opinion of the Supreme Court upon it. Under Clause 2, if the President refers to the Supreme Court matters which are excluded from its original jurisdiction under the provision of Article 131, the Court shall be bound to give its opinion to the President. Under Clause 1, Supreme Court has given advisory opinion in various cases. First, Re-UP Education Bill, Re-UP Tangle Case, Re-Special Courts, Re-Presidential Election, etc. Also, Article 144 states that all authorities, civil and judicial, in the territory of India shall act in aid of the Supreme Court. Writ jurisdiction. Article 32 of the Constitution gives an extensive original jurisdiction to the Supreme Court in regard to enforcement of fundamental rights. A person can file a writ under Article 32 of the Constitution when his rights are adversely affected. It is empowered to issue direction orders or writs, including writs in the nature of habeas corpus, mandamus, writ of prohibition, quo warranto, and writ of certiorari, to enforce the right. So, now what is writ? Writ, it is an order from a judicial authority asking a power to perform same act or stop performing an act. The following writs are as: the first is habeas corpus, includes to have a body. It objects to set free a person illegal detained. Petition can be filed friend relative also. This writ is addressed to government and official private person. Mandamus means a command, order to do something, demands some activity, the command to perform public or quasi-public duty, writ available against government, public servant, judicial body. This writ not available against President of India, Governor, private individual. Writ of prohibition. It means order to stay a judicial proceedings. A writ of prohibition is issued to prevent an inferior court or tribunal from exceeding its jurisdiction. D. Quo warranto. Quo warranto means what is your authority. Court inquires into legally of claim to public office. Object is to prevent of public office when: first, disqualified for the post, procedure not followed, irregular appointment. Next writ is writ of certiorari. A writ of certiorari is issued by the Supreme Court or High Court to nullify an order made without jurisdiction or in violation of the rules of natural justice by an inferior court. Next is revisory jurisdiction. The Supreme Court under Article 137 is empowered to review any judgment or order made by it with a view to removing any mistake or error that might have crept in the judgment or order. This is done because Supreme Court is a court of record. Its decision has a special importance and can't be questioned in any other court. A court of record under Article 129. Supreme Court is a court of record as its all judgments are recorded for evidence and testimony. These judgments serves as precedents for high courts and subordinate courts, so that in case of doubts, they can refer to the records of Supreme Court and give a similar decision in a similar case. The Supreme Court records are not to be questioned when they are produced before any subordinate court. If found, Supreme Court can punish such person for its contempt, and no one can deny this right of Supreme Court. Let's move on to the judicial review, which is mentioned under Article 13. Judicial review is the power of Supreme Court to examine the constitutionality of the legislative enactments and executive orders or both. Judicial review is needed for the following reasons. First, to uphold the principle of the supremacy of the Constitution. Second, to maintain federal equilibrium, balance between center and states. Third, to protect the fundamental rights of the citizens. Fourth, it also examines if they are found to be violative of the Constitution. Ultra vires, they can be declared as illegal, unconstitutional, and invalid, null and void by the Supreme Court. Consequently, they cannot be enforced by the government. Miscellaneous or other powers. It decides the disputes regarding the election of the president and the vice president. In this regard, it has the original, exclusive, and final authority. It requires into the conduct and behavior of the chairman and members of the Union Public Civil Commission or on a reference made by President. If it finds them guilty of misbehavior, it can recommend it to the President for their removal. The advice tendered by the Supreme Court in this regard is binding on the President. Next, it has power to review its own judgment or order. Thus, it is not bound by its previous decisions and can depart from in the interest of justice or community welfare. In brief, Supreme Court is a self-correcting agency. For example, in Keshwananda Bharti case 1973, the Supreme Court departed from its previous judgment in the Golaknath case 1967. The next point is, it is authorized to withdraw the cases pending before the High Courts and dispose them itself. It can also transfer a case or appeal pending before one High Court to another High Court. Next point is, its law is binding on all courts, civil and judicial, in the country should act in aid of the Supreme Court. It is the ultimate interpreter of the Constitution. It can give final version to the spirit and content of the provisions of the Constitution and the wordiness used in the Constitution. It has power of judicial superintendence and control over all the courts and tribunals functioning in the entire territory of the country. Thus, Supreme Court of India is a guardian of the Constitution. There are 2 points of significance of the Supreme Court's role as the protector and guardian of the Constitution. First, as the highest federal court, it is within the power and authority of the Supreme Court to settle any disputes regarding division of powers between the Union and the states. Secondly, it is in Supreme Court's authority to safeguard the fundamental rights of the citizens. Review petition. But before discussing review petition, first we will see Section 366 Clause 1 of CRPC, that is Criminal Procedure Code. The section says that any lower court in the country awards a person death penalty or death sentence, then that death sentence can't be executed. That means that person cannot be hanged unless the concerned High Court has confirmed the death sentence. Now, this is obvious that a person who is given death sentence by a lower court and confirmed by the High Court will definitely go to appeal to the Supreme Court of India. Now, when Supreme Court also upholds the death sentence, and this is what happened in Nirbhaya case also. When Supreme Court confirmed the death sentence for Nirbhaya case convicts, then let's see what remedies or what options are these convicts have in their hands. Now, we will see the review petition followed by curative petition, because these two petition or topics were in news since long in the case of Sabarimala and Nirbhaya gang rape. These provisions were tried in law in order to delay the execution process of death sentence. Review petition. Meaning, the term review means re-examine or verification. In a legal sense, filing of application before the Honorable Court to re-examine the material of facts and verification of records relating to pronounced judgment is called as review petition. It is legally given another chance to aggrieved parties to file review petition before the court to ratify order on an error apparent on the face of the record. Background. The parties aggrieved on any order of the Supreme Court on any apparent error can file a review petition. Taking into consideration the principle of stare decisis, courts generally don't unsettle a decision without a strong case. The court has the power to review its ruling to correct a patent error and not minor mistakes of inconsequential import. A review is by no means an appeal in disguise. That means the court is allowed not to take fresh stock of the case but to correct grave errors that have resulted in the miscarriage of justice. Procedure. A review application or petition may be filed by the affected party within 30 days of the order passed by the High Court or Supreme Court. These decisions of both Supreme Court and High Courts can be reviewed in review petition. Article 137 of the Constitution provides that, subject to provision of any law and rules made under Article 145, the Supreme Court of India has the power to review any judgment pronounced by it. Furthermore, even after dismissal of a review petition, the Supreme Court may consider a curative petition in order to prevent abuse of its process and to cure gross miscarriage of justice. Review petition can be filed against the order passed by the High Court in the revision petition. The High Court may admit, dismiss the review petition, but also has the power to reverse its earlier order after giving opportunity of hearing to the both sides. The Sabarimala case 2018. Now we will see some slides consisting with the facts, major issues and judgment of this famous landmark case of Sabarimala Temple. You can just follow these. The Sabrimala Case 2018. Let's see the Sabrimala Case review under review petition. The Supreme Court is reviewing its 2018 judgment wherein it declared unconstitutional the Sabrimala temple's practice of excluding women of a menstruating age. First, it will resolve certain underlying constitutional questions pertaining to the fundamental rights to freedom of religion and its relation to other fundamental rights. Background. The case background for the 2018 Sabrimala writ petition can be observed that on 28 September 2018, a 4.1 majority of the Supreme Court held that Sabrimala temple's exclusionary custom is unconstitutional. The custom prohibited women between the ages of 10 to 15 years old from entering the temple. The judgment primarily held that the custom violated the fundamental rights to freedom of religion of female worshippers under Article 25 of the Constitution. More than 50 review petitions were subsequently filed by various individuals and organizations, including Kantaru Rajiv Varu, the National Ayyappa Devotees Women's Association, the Nair Service Society, and All Kerala Brahmins Association. On 13th November 2018, the court began hearing the review petitions in open court as Chief Justice Deepak Mishra had retired Chief Justice Ranjan Gogoi replaced him on the bench. The other judges on the bench remained the same: Justice Ajay Manik Rao, Rohinton Nirman, D.Y. Chandrachud, and Indu Malhotra. 1 year later, on 14th November 2019, the bench delivered a judgment keeping the review petition pending and referring certain underlying constitutional questions to a large bench. These underlying issues pertaining to women's access to public religious institutions. By a narrow 3.2 majority, the bench speculated that other freedom of religion cases may object to the reasoning in the 2018 Sabrimala judgment and order a referral. Justice Nirmal and Chandrachud discussed, holding that this speculation went beyond the narrow scope of a review petition. Before final arguments begin on the referral question, the issue arose as to whether a bench hearing a review petition could make a referral in first place. This counsel opposing the 14th November 2019 referral argued that the court's review jurisdiction is too narrow to allow referral. It is held that the court has power to refer a point in law to a large bench in a review petition. However, it didn't offer any reasons for this finding. It has tagged two other pending cases like first, Muslim women's right to enter masjid, second, Parsi women's right to enter a fire temple after having married a non-Parsi, etc. Curative petition. Now, once review petition is also rejected of a petitioner, then the petitioner or the interested party can file a second petition which is called as curative petition, and this is given under the rules of Supreme Court. Meaning, a curative petition is a petition which requests the court to review its own decision even after a review petition is dismissed. The issue of curative petition gained prominence during the Nirbhaya case, when two of the convicts filed the same petition against the Supreme Court's decision after the mercy petition and the review petition had been rejected. A curative petition, in simple words, it is a final and last option for the people to acquire justice as mentioned and promised by the Constitution of India. The court used the Latin maxim actus curia namenum gravitiv, which means that an act of the court shall prejudice no one. This led to the creation of the concept of curative petition by the Supreme Court, and the reason given for such creation was preventing the abuse of the process of law and to cure the lapses in the existing system of justice. Let's move on to the background. The first known instance of curative petition was gradually progressed in the landmark case of Rupa Ashok Hurra vs. Ashok Hurra and another in 2002 by the decision of the Supreme Court of India, that where the question arose that whether an aggrieved party is allowed to get any relief against the final judgment of the apex court. Even after a review petition is dismissed, the Supreme Court in the above mentioned held that in order to prevent grave abuse of its natural justice or judicial process and to cure gross miscarriage of justice, it may reconsider its judgment in the exercise of its inherent powers. For this purpose, the court has conceived what has been coined as curative petition. The main thing to note is that curative petition must be validated by a senior advocate. Landmark case Rupa Ashok Hurra vs. Ashok Hurra in 2002. Before discussing the facts and issue of the case, let's discuss what this case exact is. This case is more related to family law, but it is majorly related to curative petition also. This is very famous judgment in 2002 given in family law. Before going into the case, we should know the importance of the case because this case is the introduction of curative petition. It is basically if a person is not satisfied with appeal in High Court, he or she will definitely go to the Supreme Court for appealing again. But if he is still not satisfied of Supreme Court's judgment for his appeal before 2002, it was a last remedy named review petition that the judgment of the Supreme Court would be reviewed again. But after this case in 2002, the situation became changed. The Supreme Court brought out curative petition. Let's move to the facts of the case. These following facts are mainly related to the topics diverse. On 3rd December, the husband and wife got married and their marriage was solemnized under Hindu Marriage Act 1955. So, obviously, they are Hindus. After few years, due to some differences, they want to opt for divorce, particularly they opted for mutual divorce under Section 13, Clause B of Hindu Marriage Act 1955. In Section 13, Clause B of Hindu Marriage Act, particularly, is stated that if any of the party wants to withdraw his or her consent, it should be before 18 months. What happened in this case? The wife withdrew her consent after 18 months, which is not valid according to Section 13 Clause B of Hindu Marriage Act 1955. So the withdrawal was invalid. Thus Supreme Court gave the verdict in favor of wife, where the husband wants to appeal his judgment in next court. Here husband moved to High Court seeking for an appeal till the judgment was given in favor of wife by High Court. Then he moved to Supreme Court seeking for review petition where the judgment given should be reviewed by the Supreme Court. There, the main contention was regarding under Section 13, Clause B of Hindu Marriage Act 1955. Their consent of withdrawal should be given to the party before 18 months, but in this case, the withdrawal was after 18 months. Issue of the case. So, basically, here before this case, the last option was only review petition. If the review petition is in the favor of other party, then the aggrieved party has to accept the judgment given by the court. But through this judgment, the court brought a new concept, that is curative petition. Through this, the judgment, the husband got favored by the court, then she granted divorce and ordered sum of 5,50,000 to his wife for her maintenance. Let's see some highlights of the case. Through this judgment, a new concept of curative petition was brought. Curative petition is only applicable when review petition got dismissed, or if the petitioner states that the principle of natural justice and odi alterum partem was not established. When court violates his principle of natural justice and where his argument had not listened by the court, then only the curative petition could be brought in reflection. Procedure. A curative petition is supported by Article 137 of the Constitution of India. As per the article, in matters of law and regulations made under Article 145, the Supreme Court has the power to review any judgments or order made by it. Such curative petition needs to be filed within 30 days from the date of judgment or order. This has to be certified by senior advocate. The curative petition is then circulated to the three senior most judges and judges who delivered the judgment. With this relation, in the Nirbhaya Gang Rape Case Study 2012. Rape accounts for about 12% of all crime against women in our country. India's average rate of reported rape case is about 6.3 per 1 lakhs of the population. But the problem about rape cases is that about 99% of the cases of sexual violence go unreported, which makes it difficult to estimate the actual number of rape cases in our country. These states make it horrible for a woman to live in such an environment where she can't even breathe by her choice. The number of reported cases in India has seen a massive jump in the last few years, mainly owing to the outrage created by the Nirbhaya case. Now I am sharing some slides which is consisting with important facts, major issues, judgment of Nirbhaya gang rape case. These case facts, issues and judgment are as following. Last-ditched effort, one of the convicts in the Nirbhaya gang rape and murder case, Pawan Gupta, has moved the Supreme Court with a curative petition against the dismissal of his review plea rejecting his juvenility claim. The top court had on January 31st dismissed his review plea against the rejection of his appeal on January 20. The review plea was taken up for consideration in chamber by the bench comprising Justice R. Bhanumati, Ashok Bhushan and A.S. Bopanna and was dismissed. Pawan's counsel A.P. Singh confirmed filing of the curative petition on Tuesday. While dismissing his appeal on January 20, the top court had said there was no ground to interfere with the Delhi High Court order that rejected Pawan's similar plea. The apex court had said that the convict's claim was rightly rejected by the trial court as also the High Court. It had said the matter was raised earlier in the review plea before the apex court was rejected the claim of juvenility taken by Pawan and another convict Vinay Kumar Sharma and that order has attained finality. Pawan's counsel had earlier argued that as per his school leaving certificate, he was a minor at the time of the offence. Solicitor General Tushar Mehta, appearing for the Delhi police, he said Pawan's claim of juvenility was considered at each and every judicial forum and it will be a travesty of justice if the convict is allowed to raise the claim of juvenility repeatedly and at this point of time. The trial court had on March 5th issued fresh black warrants for the exclusion of all the four convicts in the case. Mukesh Kumar Singh, 32 years, Pawan Kumar, 25, Vinay, 26 and Akshay, 31st, in Tihar jail at 5:30 am on March 20. All the convicts have exhausted their legal remedies and constitutional remedies with the filing of their mercy petitions which have been rejected by the President. Now there are some other cases are as followings. Nas Foundation Trust vs Suresh Kumar Kaushal. Second, Yaqub Abdul Razak Memon vs State of Maharashtra. Now come to the conclusion. Just like air is important for a human being, justice is important in order to have an ideal society. The judges of any court are not gods or perfect and are not error-free. They are human, and as the famous saying, to err is human. They are bound to make mistakes at some points or the other. The decision given by the Supreme Court is a final and binding and cannot be reviewed. There is no intra-appeal against the Supreme Court's judgment, but there are certain loopholes where aggrieved parties do not have a chance to seek redressal through review or curative petition. In order to guarantee impartial working of the judicial system, the perception of curative petition was incorporated to correct any misconception that could ascend in the judgment passed by the Supreme Court of India.